My fellow Americans, first I want to thank a lot of you who are supporting and sending me emails back and inviting me to join their organizations and everything. I appreciate that, but it's just not spreading fast enough. You don't realize, maybe after you watch the end of this, you'll see how close we are to irrevocable damage. I'm addressing this to liberals. Now, that's what you call them, but I want you to realize liberals are communists. There's three forms of them, okay? There's the Machiavellian communists that rule this country and are power hungry and just believe to their souls this is the way for the betterment of the all. A few million people have to die, so what? If we have to steal a couple $1 trillion, so what? If we have to, pass on some diseases to just a few to make good for the all, that's how they feel. Now, there's two other groups of communists under the Machiavellian communists, and one of them are intelligent, good people, but they don't know history, and they've been swayed to believe in this communistic manner. I've gotten some emails from some of them. They just root on communism. Some of them say they're Christians, which is an antithesis. And then there's the other group that just don't care, and they intellectually just can't even relate to this. Not because they can't, it's because they just don't want to. And there's a lot of those out there too. The biggest percentage of the communists are the people that really think that this is going to work someday, which it obviously will never work. I was going together with a woman and she lived in my house for 5 years. And when I first met her, she was a liberal or a communist. And over a year, she changed. And you know how she changed? She just listened. Every day I would tell her a story how communism and she thought it was just socialism at the time. This is in the 90s. Just didn't work. And she, just one day got up and I was exercising and she came in the bathroom and she was mad as hell and she said, "Damn it," she says, "I'm not a liberal anymore. I'm not a communist anymore. I'm a conservative and I think about the future." And the night before, I came and told her an interesting story. I'd gone to the bank, and I was having trouble with my bank account. I had a business account at the time, and I met with this wonderful woman. She was a black lady, by the way, and I loved her dearly, and she corrected the problems with no problem. So I was about to leave, and she wanted to give me a hug and kiss, and of course I reciprocated. She started crying. I said, "What are you crying about?" She said, "Her son." She says, "Can you give my son a job?" And I said, "Well, what's the story?" She says, "He's 22 years old and he lives off the government. And he makes a lot of money off the government. And every job that I get him, because I deal with a lot of business people, he doesn't make as much money as he does from the government. He has all kind of, some of the programs," she said, is illegal. And he's very intelligent, and he keeps saying to her, why should I go work? Why should I work my butt off when I can get all this money free?" And, she doesn't have a real good answer to that, other than she tells him, you've got to try it. This is not the way it's to work. She doesn't have enough of an intellectual answer for him. So I couldn't give him a job. I didn't have any positions open. But that story is a tearful story if you think about it, because that's millions of situations. That's how communism doesn't work. They support people that should be working and should have the work ethic to continue on in their own lives, but they don't. So, hopefully maybe that story, and I'll tell you some more, that how it doesn't work. I wanted to bring up the history of capitalism, which is a contradiction to communism, of course, and most people don't know this because of some of the comments I'm getting. I'm getting some comments. I got a very interesting comment from a woman in Russia, and she made some jokes about that how because I told her how the media was always being affected by this communistic government, and she said, "Well, you think it's bad?" She says, "Before Reagan came in and tore down the Iron Curtain," she says, we would have somebody on television speaking the truth or saying glimpses of the truth, and the two gulags would come in and just take him off his chair right while the cameras were still running and put him away and never see him again. She says it's radically improved, but she says what's happened is now when he says something wrong, they wait till the show's over with and they come and take him away and they never see him again. She says sometimes you see him again. He's wearing maybe 2-3 weeks. He has a lot of makeup on. He's look like he's been beaten up. So she says things have improved, and she also said a very interesting thing. She said, she says communism in their country, she believes it's still communistic. I do too. Is much like America. And she said They don't own the businesses anymore, but they completely control it with all laws and regulations. And that's what happened in this country. That's why I wanted to tell you about this story. When it first was formed, there were no laws and regulations for business. Capitalism bloomed, the Industrial Revolution happened, it grew like crazy. Okay, and it still would be. What happened is these socialist, communist people wanted more and more power, more and more control, just like I can explain to you in numerous tapes. And they kept making laws and regulations on top of laws and regulations. There are thousands of regulations. Capitalism cannot bloom. And I told you before in other videos, I know it's not perfect. There's greed in it, there's thievery in it, but it's the only solution to society living and evolving properly. Otherwise, we're just going to devolute or destruct ourselves. But it happened slowly if you studied the history. And at times there was riots against it and everything. And also throughout history, one of the things that aggravates me the most is people were not reporting this, how there's laws and regulations. I remember one time I was in business, I was off on my taxes by 3 cents, and I got a $600 fine. I said, what is this? They said, it's too bad. That's the laws and regulations. You make an error, and you have to pay this amount, and they give you these big, long sheets. And this came about slowly at first, and probably started in the 1800s after all the wars. There's countless laws and regulations. I remember once I worked at Home Depot, and the representatives of different products would come in, and they want us to sell and promote their product, of course. And I'm always fairly technologically astute. I always wanted to listen to them and everything. I said, what makes your plastic product so dog expensive? I know you make plastic extrusions for almost nothing. And he said, it was a man, he said, it's government regulations. I says, well, what kind of regulations? They're making this little plastic product, which almost everything's made. She says, what they've done, this was in probably around 2000, 2001. She says, what the government has done is they've made these laws that when the plastic burns, it won't put out anything carcinogenic or minimally carcinogenic. Most plastics that burn can cause cancer, by the way. And I said, well, what the hell's the sense of that? And they said, I don't know, because if your house burns down or your garage burns down, you're going to probably die from smoke or smoke inhalation or carbon monoxide poisoning or the fire itself before you die of cancer. So it's a perfect example how ridiculous and how absurd all these laws are. They just take away people's freedoms and they obscure capitalism, which keeps the nation going and progressing and evolving. So it's really a pity. I've seen some news shows on Fox that, show all these laws and regulations. It's just, it's absurd. But you people don't care about it. Excuse me. You have to. You better start caring about it. You better get these people out of office. And don't elect the lawyers, believe me. In a later tape, I'm going to give you an outline of the kind of people you should elect. And give you a very basic story on who you should start re-electing. But you have to get these people out before you can re-elect. So, get off your butts and start spreading this video to everybody, and everybody that you give it to must spread it, and then you start organizing in groups and voting these people out of office. That's the only solution. And let them know they'll never be in office again. And make petitions and don't do any, these town hall meetings are fine, but don't do any, exhibitions or anything, because they'll arrest you for that. They can't take this. They're not going to lose easy, by the way. They're taught in law school, remember I talked about this before, and they're all lawyers, they're taught to win. Nothing to do with justice. They're taught to win. And that is a serious, serious problem, okay? You can't be taught to win. You have to be an attorney or judge, you have to be taught to pursue justice, not taught to win. So get out there and start acting. If you don't, I'm telling you, it's devastation is coming. There's things I know that I don't want to even say. If you listen to the news media, there's things they know that they don't want to say. They're afraid to cause panics and everything. But this society, the world, will probably be in a world war if you don't do something about it. America leads the world. It's still, but I don't know for how much longer. And remember, these Islamics this is a war of religion. You cannot win a war of religion. Just get out of these countries, tell these politicians, get out, let them evolve or devolute, whatever, but get out of their hair. They're going to, maybe it's too late, I don't know. But I think if you did get out of there, and all these nations, including Israel, I think things will change. I truly believe they'll change. They may get worse over there, but